Between endless vineyards, timber frame facades, and a wine culture dating back millennia, it's no surprise that Burgundy is one of those French destinations that's a total must-see once you've enjoyed the glittering lights of Paris and soaked up the sun of the Côte d'Azur. Here's your ultimate guide to the best of Burgundy, as well as what to know before you go. The history of Burgundy dates back many centuries, and once upon a time it was inhabited by the Celts and then the Romans, known then as the Gallo-Romans, and then by the Burgundians. The historical region was an administrative region of what is today France from the 20th century up until 2016, when it was incorporated into the larger department of Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. Anyway, you probably clicked on this video to discover the best places to visit in Burgundy, and so let's dive right in. Ooh, pastel hues with a provincial feel, the pretty town of Macon can be found somewhere between Chalon-sur-Saone and Lyon. The town also happens to be the birthplace of the famous 18th century politician Claude Philibert Berthelot de Rambuteau. Other highlights of this off-the-beaten-track settlement include admiring the ruins of Cathédrale le Vieux Saint-Vincent and enjoying the works of the Museum of Fine Arts, which is housed within a former Ursuline convent. Nearby, the Beaujolais vineyards are often said to produce some of the best wines in Burgundy. With a population of just under 5,000 residents, Clooney is easily one of the smaller towns in Burgundy. Clooney itself is characterized by its central abbey that was founded by Duke William I of Aquitaine in 910. From the 10th century onwards, a town grew up around the ecclesiastical building of eastern France, thus resulting in a beautiful blend of middle-aged buildings, including a particularly impressive Hôtel Dieu. Set across the mainland, as well as a small island that now lives on the River Saône, Chalon-sur-Saone is a little off the beaten tourist track and can be found in the very heart of Burgundy. Surrounded by vineyards and filled with timber-framed houses, this tiny town was even the birthplace of Niepce, one of the early pioneers of photography and the man who took the earliest surviving ever photograph. Home to one of the most beautiful cathedral tympanums in France, Autun is located to the west of Beaune and was originally founded as Augustodonum during Roman times. Visit today and you can expect to find highlights such as plenty of Roman ruins, including a Roman theatre and the Temple of Janus, and the Musée Rolin, which features extensive works from Burgundy region and beyond. Located in northern Burgundy, around an hour and a half from Paris, Auxerre is a stunning city characterized by its many churches, winding riverbed, and a plethora of cobbled lanes. Perfect for a secret French getaway or escape, highlights of this Burgundian town include an abbey founded by Saint-Germain and a beautiful clock tower dating back to the Middle Ages. The fortified tower in Auxerre dates back to 1483. At this time, a clock was installed at the behest of the Count of Auxerre, who announced that his city simply needed to have a bell tower and a clock. During the Middle Ages, bells would generally have been rung throughout the day to signal various prayer and working times. Installing a public clock was a sign of a city's prosperity and wealth, not to mention that the tower also likely served as a prison at some point or another. If you make it your mission to see just one tourist attraction during your time in Auxerre, make sure it's a visit to the historic Saint-Germainist Abbey. After all, the permanent exhibitions are incredibly expansive and are completely free to visit. If you speak French and are looking for a more immersive experience, then for just over €10, you can book a place on a 1.4-hour guided tour of the Abbey. This includes a visit to the Merovingian crypt, a detailed history of the Abbey, the chance to see the tomb of Saint-Germain himself, and the opportunity to admire 9th century Christian frescoes that are the oldest of their kind in France. World-famous wines originate from the tiny town of Chablis, an otherwise unknown French settlement in the northernmost part of Burgundy that has a population of around 2,500 residents. The biggest export from Chablis is, of course, Chablis Chardonnay. Other delights you can expect to find should you choose to visit include a historic town centre, including the Porte Noël, which is an old city gate, and the churches of Saint-Pierre and Saint-Martin. From May to June, the Festival du Chablisien is held on an annual basis and is a celebration of all things jazz and music. Best known as being the French capital city of mustard, Dijon is one of the largest cities in Burgundy. It's also my favourite and I recommend spending a good few days here. Home to a population of around 155,000 residents, some of the best things to do in this Burgundy city include mustard tasting, wandering around the timber-framed Old Town, and seeking out some of the best hidden gems the town has to offer. Of all the unusual things to see in Dijon, one of the best known is a little carving of an owl. A good luck symbol of the city throughout the centuries, the owl has graced the side of the 13th century Notre Dame Cathedral, close to Maison Fallou, where you can buy some mustard, for centuries. Although no one knows quite how the Dijon owl came to be on the side of the ecclesiastical building, local legends suggest that if you stroke the owl with your left hand, that which is closest to the heart, you'll be blessed with good luck. Another spot I really enjoyed when I visited Dijon was the Musée d'Art Sacré, the Museum of Religious Art. Housed within a former church, the Museum of Religious Art can be found right beside the Musée de la Vie Bourguignon. Free to visit, although only open upon request at the reception desk for the Museum of Burgundy Life during the winter months, the culture space is set across several rooms within a former church. It's honestly truly magical and I really recommend going. Finally, Dijon is also where you can see the birthplace of Gustave Eiffel. While Gustave Eiffel quite literally needs no introduction, after all he did design the Eiffel Tower, what you may not know is that he was born in Dijon, though the very building where the famous architect was born has since been demolished to make way for a modern housing or shopping complex. A small plaque announces the very site where Eiffel was born on the 15th of December 1832. Founded during Roman times, if nearby Dijon is the French capital city of mustard, then Beaune is undoubtedly the French capital city of wine. Beaune is populated by plenty of wine tasting cellars, wine merchants, and even a wine bookshop known as Athenaeum. Elsewhere in the little city, you'll soon discover that there's many stunning churches, historic mansion houses, and of course the Old Beaune Hospital. The Beaune Hospital is actually known as Hôtel Dieu in French. The Hôtel Dieu, with its glazed tiles, is an emblematic of the city and was constructed in 1442 when it was founded by Nicolas Rolin, a Duke of Burgundy. The charitable set of almshouses was constructed during the plague, when Beaune lost a staggering 3/4 of its population. 600 years ago, Beaune was also caught up in the centre of the 100 Years' War, and the Hôtel Dieu was built in just 8 years around this time. It's a testament to the precise running of the hospital that it remained in operation for well over 5 centuries and only closed in 1982. Today, the Hospices de Beaune now functions as a museum. For a fee, visitors can head inside the Hospital Tour Museum and learn more about the history of Beaune and its surroundings. One of the most striking rooms is the first room you enter, which is the largest and where the poorest were treated. Unfortunately, the treatment provided was more care for the soul, and so most people came to the hospital to die. The smaller ward nearby was for wealthier patients. As they had better care, they were also more likely to survive their time at the hospital. Architecture aside, one of the very best things to do in Beaune is to head into one of the many caves dotted around the city and enjoy a wine tasting experience. These tastings typically take place in a 17th or 18th century wine cellar and discuss the history of wine growing in the region from a vintner or local expert. It's honestly really enjoyable and I definitely recommend going. Located along the Route des Grands Crus, Nuits-Georges is perhaps most famous for its rich red wines. Easy to reach from nearby Dijon or Beaune, this world-famous town has much more to offer than venturing into the surrounding vineyards, though of course this is also an option if you'd like it to be. While the town itself is small in size, it still has a handful of churches and smattering of traditional French cafes and bars. Close to the train station on the fringes of Nuits-Georges, Le Cassis produces all things blackcurrant related, including the region's other famous triple, Crème de Cassis. Tours of Le Cassis are suitable for all ages, and on the tour I went on, plenty of young families came along with their children, who were more than happy to sample all of the non-alcoholic syrups at the end. Nuits-Georges is also the gateway to the next place on our list, Vosne Romanee. Vosne Romanee is a quintessential Burgundian village with just a few hundred inhabitants. However, what makes this settlement truly remarkable is that on the edge of the town, down an unmarked and otherwise unremarkable road, the vineyard that produces the most expensive wine in the world is to be found. Upon first glance, the vineyard for Romanee Conti looks like all of the other climat in the area. The small plot of land is marked out by the kind of simple cross and stone wall that is so synonymous with the region. However, a little plaque on the wall indicates that this indeed is the Romanee Conti vineyard.